Welcome to Module 8 of 10 Success Factors for Service Desk Agents. I'm Jeff Rumberg, co-founder and managing partner of MetricNet. Today, we're going to cover success factor number 8, understand your value proposition. In my position as managing partner of MetricNet, I've had the honor and privilege of working with thousands of IT support organizations all over the world. When I meet with a new client, I like to ask them a fairly simple question. What is your value proposition? Sometimes they ask me to clarify the question, but more often than not, they dive right into an answer that is either very vague or very tactical in nature. I get answers such as, to provide the best possible service to our customers. Well, that's pretty vague, doesn't say very much. Or I will hear, to make sure we hit all of our service level targets. And that answer is very tactical. And other times they will refer me to a mission statement that is akin to providing the best possible service, but it's just a longer, more elaborate version of that statement. Unfortunately, each of these answers misses the point entirely. The value proposition of a service desk is not about hitting service levels or maximizing customer satisfaction or first contact resolution rate. While those are all worthy objectives, the number one strategic goal of every service desk should be to make your customers as productive as they can possibly be. Let me explain. If you're supporting enterprise customers or users, the average enterprise customer now has more than 3 devices. They might have a desktop computer, a laptop computer, a smartphone, a printer, and a server in their office. When these devices don't work as intended, valuable productive time is lost. There may be a workaround, so the customer may not be completely out of business, but productive time will be lost even under the best of circumstances. So the sooner they are returned to full productivity, the better. Better to have them working in their area of specialty, whether that's HR, engineering, finance, accounting, supply chain, or any other enterprise function, than to have them sidelined or partially sidelined by an IT issue. The stakes may be even higher in a B2B support environment, B2B meaning business to business support. In this case, your customer may be an individual user, an entire department, or even an entire enterprise. Here again, the productivity argument applies. You want to restore your business customers to full productivity as quickly as possible. But there's an added dimension here, and that dimension is revenue, sales. Whether you're being paid for support, being paid for a subscription SaaS application, or being paid for an on-premise application, or being paid to maintain a customer's IT infrastructure. You have one or more revenue streams from that customer. That customer, it turns out, makes decisions about whether or not to renew their services with you, expand their existing services with you, or potentially cancel services with you, in part depending upon the quality of support they receive. So these B2B customers have a productivity issue at stake, just as enterprise customers do. But your service desk also has a potential revenue issue at stake because these decisions about whether or not to purchase services initially, expand services over time, or in some cases, cancel services, have revenue implications for your company. Now, a third scenario would be B2C support, business to consumer support. Imagine a consumer who calls Dell Computer or Apple Computer about their personal device. This is much like B2B support, but on a smaller scale. The consumer's experience with support is likely to influence their decision to purchase additional products and services from you, maintain their existing suite of products with you, or opt out altogether and pick a different brand when it comes time to replace or upgrade their device. So let me bottom line this part of the course by saying that the number one strategic goal of a service desk is to make your customers more productive and to protect and grow revenue. That is also a central part of the value proposition of the service desk and for you personally. More on that in a moment. Let me share some data with you to back up these claims. In the lower right of this slide, I've shown the estimated hours of productivity that are lost per year in an enterprise environment due to various IT-related incidents, service requests, questions, outages, and other events that impede user productivity. This data is based on industrial engineering time and motion studies. If you're a user who is lucky enough to work in an enterprise that provides top quartile IT service and support, you will still lose, on average, 17 productive hours per year. By contrast, if you are unlucky enough to work in an enterprise that provides fourth quartile IT service and support, you will lose an estimated 47 hours of productivity per year. That's more than a full week of lost productivity. The difference between these two extremes is vast. By migrating from fourth quartile to first quartile service and support, for example, a service desk can return an estimated 30 productive hours annually to every user in the enterprise. Imagine an enterprise with hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of users. If you're returning 10, 20, or even 30 productive hours a year to every user in that enterprise, the monetized value of that return productivity can be enormous. Let me give you an example from a recent service desk benchmark that MetricNet completed. I'll use round numbers without compromising the conclusion to make the example easier to follow. The service desk in our case study was supporting 50,000 end users and handling about 40,000 tickets per month. So it was a fairly large enterprise. The annual operating expense of this desk was right around $12 million. And they were managing this workload with 110 agents. The benchmark we conducted for them indicated that they were, in fact, a top quartile performer. So we can deduce from the chart in the lower right that each user was losing an estimated 17 hours of productivity per year. Now, the average productivity loss from all users worldwide is about 30 hours. That number is not shown on this chart, but it's roughly halfway between the second and third quartiles. So compared to the average productivity loss, the enterprise that we benchmarked was saving every end user about 13 productive hours per year. 30 hours on average of lost productivity minus 17 hours of lost productivity for a top quartile performing service desk. That's more than a day and a half of productive time annually that will be returned to every user. Now we can multiply that 13 hours saved by 50,000 users to get an estimated productivity savings of 650,000 hours annually. We know that the average employee works about 1,800 hours per year after subtracting out holidays, PTO, and sick days, et cetera. So if we divide that 1,800 hours per FTE into the total of 650,000 hours saved per year, we can estimate that the number of FTEs saved at about 361, 650,000 hours divided by 1,800 hours per FTE. We also know that in North America, where this service desk is located, the average user makes about 120,000 per year on a fully loaded basis. That includes salary, incentive compensation, benefits, and overhead. So our 361 FTEs of return productivity is worth about 43.3 million per year. That's 361 FTEs multiplied by 120,000 per FTE. Now recall that the annual operating expense of this service desk is $12 million. But we just went through an analysis showing that this service desk is returning an estimated 43.3 million in productivity per year to the enterprise. So the ROI from return productivity alone is 43.3 million, the R in ROI, divided by 12 million, the I in ROI, or 360% if you do the math, which means that this service desk is returning economic value to the enterprise that is worth about 3.6 times their annual operating expense. That's a huge ROI, but it's not an uncommon return for a top performing service desk. That's the quantifiable part of your value proposition for both a service desk and for you personally. If you're an above average service desk, you're returning economic value to the enterprise that is far greater than your annual operating expense. And the key to that ROI is that you're returning productive hours to the users that you support. Let's now turn our attention to the upper right side of this slide. This will address a second part of your value proposition, which is not quantifiable the way ROI is, but is no less important to the overall value that you deliver to your enterprise and to your customers. What we're seeing here is the result of a survey that asked customers to rank their top drivers of customer satisfaction for all of IT, not just for IT support, but for all of IT. As you can see, the top two drivers are the service desk and desktop support, with 84% and 47% of the survey respondents respectively saying that the service desk and desktop support are the two biggest drivers of their overall satisfaction with IT. This makes sense if you think about it, because most enterprise customers don't spend a lot of time in the NOC or with the network engineers or with the developers, but they do have frequent interactions with IT service and support. In fact, in North America, the average enterprise customer opens 1.1 service desk tickets per month and 0.5 desktop support tickets per month. That's 1.6 interactions with IT per month, or 19 interactions per year. So it's no mystery that IT service and support, as the gateway to all of enterprise IT, has a disproportionate impact on customer satisfaction with IT. This represents both a special opportunity and a special responsibility for support professionals. Your job, and specifically your effectiveness as an agent, has the potential to dramatically improve the productivity of your customers, the ROI piece, and drive high levels of customer satisfaction with all of IT. Let me bottom line this module for you. Your value proposition is twofold. First, you create economic value for your customers by returning productive hours to them. When we monetize those productive hours, put a dollar value on them, the value of the return productivity to those customers is typically far in excess of your operating expense. Secondly, most interactions with enterprise IT take place through IT support. We've shown that customer satisfaction with all of IT is almost entirely the result of customer interactions with IT support. As a support professional, you have the opportunity to drive high levels of customer satisfaction with all of IT if you deliver consistently high quality support to your customers. The leverage and impact of this value proposition can't be overstated. Many in IT assume that service and support is a mere cost center, a cost of doing business with no positive ROI. But you have seen in this module that your value proposition drives both greater customer productivity, and we can measure that ROI as we did in our example, as well as higher levels of customer satisfaction with enterprise IT. And that's no small thing. I encourage you to absorb and internalize this value proposition. Watch the video again if necessary, and keep this value proposition in mind as you go about your day-to-day agent responsibilities, taking pride in the knowledge that what you do makes a real difference to your enterprise customers and the enterprise overall. Congratulations, you've now completed Module 8 of 10 success factors for service desk agents. I look forward to seeing you in the next module.